Welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. In our session today, we are subtracting a whole number and a fractional number. And if you're ready to see how this is done, let's get started. In the example today, I'm going to show you how we can change our whole number back into its fractional form so that we can subtract the fraction from our whole number. So let's look at our number 8 as our whole number. Now, in looking at your whole numbers, I want you to remember that whenever we get one whole, remember that our one whole is equal to our numerator and our denominator being the same number. Now, in cases like these, when you're working with a whole number and there is no fractional part given, remember that the denominator in the fraction that is given to you, for example, in this example, we have 2/3. That means for me to get one whole, I need 3 out of 3 to equal to one whole. Because 3 is the denominator that I'm given, that means for my 8 as well, the denominator is going to be 3 when I break this whole number into its fraction part. Since we know to get one whole, we need to have a numerator and a denominator with the exact same number. So what I'm going to do is now, I'm going to separate my 8 into a whole number and a fractional part. So I'm going to subtract one whole from my 8, which will equal to 7 wholes. And then that separate part, I'm going to break that into a fraction of 3 out of 3. So remember that, because I know this part tends to get a little confusing and a little tricky for some person. So remember that if you have 7 wholes, remember this is being added to 3 out of 3. Remember that this 3 out of 3 is what's going to equal to one whole. And at the point when this becomes one whole, remember that your 7 wholes plus your 1 is what's going to equal to 8. So the only thing I did was I borrowed that 1 and I changed the one whole that was given to me into its fraction form before we changed it to one whole to make 7 plus 1 equals 8. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that 7 whole and my 3 out of 3 back into my fraction, into my equation. So now I will subtract my 2/3 from this fraction. I remember that we do not have a whole number, so my 7 wholes will return. I want 3 minus 2, that will equal to 1/3. So my solution for this question is going to be 7 wholes and 1/3. Now, when it comes to this step, I know this tends to be a little bit tricky at first in learning how to work through this process, but it tends to get easier as you practice it, even though it does seem tricky. Remember that we just took our 8 wholes and we separated or we regrouped by taking one whole from our whole number and we changed that back into its fraction form of 3 over 3 and then kept my 7 whole. But remember that practice makes perfect, and with this particular step, it's going to require a whole lot of practice for you to get familiar with the different parts. But as always, get that practice in, and I'll see you right here in the next video on Jules Math Tools, where we aim to make math easy.